In recent years, I've tried several headphone models, both cheap and expensive, and although they differed in build quality as well as the clarity of the sound they produced, let's be honest, most of us aim for equipment that doesn't require spending half of our paycheck. Technology is moving forward, and the price of some electronics is going down. Good products are becoming cheaper, and cheap products are getting better. Just like with smartphones, even a budget model today can fully satisfy even a more demanding user. But is it the same with headphones? To check this, I'll take a closer look at the T13 model in its latest version with the ANC label, which means it has active noise cancellation technology, small, always working when we need them, wireless, with long battery life, and importantly, a charging case. Is a set like this, priced at around 100 zlotys, a scam, or could these be the best headphones you can get for that money? Today we'll find out. This is Pavel, and you're watching the Tech Maniac HD channel. Let's get started. Even if you're interested in music equipment, the QCY brand might have slipped past you among the whole range of manufacturers. Interestingly, it's not some tiny company rebranding devices from other manufacturers, but a real powerhouse in this segment. The brand has existed since 2009 and can boast a sales share of over 5% of the global in-ear TWS headphone market. This puts it somewhere between the Redmi brand, which is associated with Xiaomi and Huawei, and yes, it is a Chinese manufacturer. But QCY also has its official distribution in our country, Polish website, Polish social media, and their products can be bought directly at XCOM, Euro RTV AGD, Media Expert, and many others. So we don't have to worry about the warranty. Besides, the grey and yellow box itself reveals the origin of the product. The texts are partly in English, supplemented with Chinese descriptions. The key features are already listed on the front of the packaging, and the most important one is active noise cancellation, or ANC for short. The contents themselves are already quite standard. In addition to the earbuds placed in the case, we get a short USB Type-C cable for charging, a paper manual, unfortunately not in Polish, and 4 sets of silicone tips, with 1 set already installed by default. Choosing the right ones is extremely important, and it's worth experimenting with tips of different sizes, although it's not just about comfort. Of course, comfort is important too, but the tighter the tip fills the ear canal, the fewer unwanted sounds from the outside will reach us. In the case of earbuds with active noise cancellation, this is something we should care about the most. The earbuds are made of matte plastic, which fortunately doesn't tend to pick up fingerprints. The manufacturer decided not to put their logo on them, which makes them look neat and elegant, regardless of the color variant. Microphones are hidden in these small holes. Why are there so many of them? Well, these additional ones are necessary for the proper functioning of ANC and ANC technologies, which we will get into later. The sound is produced by a 10mm driver made mainly of copper-coated aluminum, a magnet, and a dynamic diaphragm. At the top of the stem, there's a 2-color LED indicating the operating mode of the earbud. Below that, there's a touch area, and controlling it is very simple, but it does require some getting used to and familiarizing yourself with it. Double tapping either of them pauses and resumes playback. When there's an incoming call, the same 2 taps will answer the call, and another 2 taps will hang up. 3 quick taps on the right earbud skip to the next track, while 3 taps on the left panel activate, well, the voice assistant. Which, honestly, didn't quite suit me here. Fortunately, the app lets you change the default settings and customize all the functions to your preferences. Let's move on to the case now, as it's an integral part of the set. It protects the earbuds from getting lost and at the same time extends their operating time, serving as a portable charging station. Thanks to this, whenever we reach for them, we can be sure they're fully charged. Each earbud weighs about 4 grams, while the whole set doesn't even exceed 50 grams. On the top of the case, there's a clear QCY logo, while on the bottom you'll find the manufacturer's information and some of the model's specifications. Regardless of the color variant, matte plastic has been used here, which feels solid and resistant to fingerprints. But I'm afraid that with careless use, especially the black version, it will pick up scratches. Alternatively, you can get a special, inexpensive silicone cover. It not only protects the outer layer of the case, but also lets you add a bold color. If you're interested, I'll leave a link to a few options in the description. There's an LED on the front and a USB Type-C charging port on the right side. The lid opens easily thanks to a small groove on the front. You can pair the headphones in 2 ways. Either by pressing the button inside the case or by taking them out. Connecting to a new device takes just a few seconds. QCY went with the new Bluetooth 5.3 standard here, and good for them. It's not only more energy efficient, but its biggest advantage is shorter latency and higher connection stability. Of course, the headphones work flawlessly even with older devices, but to take advantage of the benefits of the newer Bluetooth version, our device also needs to support it. The T13 ANC model has a mode that further reduces latency. It's called gaming mode. To activate it, just hold down the left earbud. Thanks to this, the lag is theoretically reduced to about 68 milliseconds. So what can I say about the battery? According to the manufacturer, the operating time is about 7 hours without active noise cancellation, but only 5 hours with this mode turned on. The 380 mAh battery in the case extends the total battery life to 30 hours. With ANC active, this time will be correspondingly shorter and should be around 25 hours at least in theory, but I don't like to take anyone's word for it, so I conducted my own tests. The first test involved playing continuous dynamic music, electronic music with ANC technology active and the volume set at 70%. I have to add here that in the T13 ANC model, a 70% volume level is already really loud. When you set the volume higher, the sound slowly starts to get distorted. In these conditions, the battery lasted exactly 5 hours, 28 minutes, and 25 seconds, which fits almost perfectly with the manufacturer's data. With noise reduction deactivated, the operating time was 6 hours and 19 minutes. And yes, it is shorter than the declared 7 hours, so to be sure, I repeated the same test, but the operating time didn't change much. Anyway, I still think this result is absolutely sufficient, mainly because the headphones themselves don't take very long to charge either. After an hour and 20 minutes they're fully charged, although I also checked what you get from, a quick top-up. Putting completely discharged headphones in for 2 minutes lets you listen to music for almost 19 minutes at 70% volume. Charging isn't linear here, so putting the earbuds in the case for 10 minutes allowed for 55 minutes and 27 seconds of use. For several days I used the headphones very intensively, and in this mixed mode, the total battery life with the case came out to 23 hours and 7 minutes of music playback. Charging the entire set takes exactly 1 hour and 53 minutes. So we have well-made headphones with solid battery life and the latest version of Bluetooth. On top of that, they look decent and even have an IPX5 dust and splash resistance rating. But since they're so cheap, it's curious where the manufacturer cut costs. Could it be that the sound quality is what suffered the most here? A 10mm driver, at least on paper, seems perfectly fine, but the final sound quality is also affected by the audio codec. The basic one, and the one used in practically all devices of this type, is SBC. Fortunately, QCY equipped the tested headphones not only with SBC, which is compatible with older devices, but also with the AAC codec. It already offers better quality, but for music lovers, it's worth looking for something that has codecs like aptX-HD or LDAC in the specifications. So, does that mean the T13 sound bad? Well, not necessarily. The AAC codec is actually a standard created by Apple, and when you buy the popular AirPods headphones, you don't get anything better. That's true, Apple stubbornly sticks to its own technology, and TWS headphones with the bitten Apple logo don't use any more advanced codecs, even though they're many times more expensive. In my opinion, there's no need to get too deep into the technological aspects of these codecs, because in what conditions are you going to use small in-ear TWS earbuds? I suppose most of you are looking for headphones that will make your time more enjoyable while working out at the gym, walking, running, or commuting to school or work. These are places and situations where even a hardcore audiophile won't be able to devote 100% of their attention and focus to analyzing the reproduced sound, compression, and breaking it down into its components. And I'll emphasize this once again, these are headphones for $100. Well, maybe a little more actually. You can always find the current prices in the description below this video, and I really think that in this category of equipment, the AAC codec is completely sufficient. To make it even funnier, most of us use streaming services like Spotify or YouTube Music anyway. The audio quality offered there isn't really impressive anyway, so from a technical point of view, the AAC codec doesn't make it any worse. It's a different story if you use your own music library in FLAC format or other similar or lossless formats. However, very few people go to that much trouble. That's why for everyday use, it's really not worth spending a fortune on high-end headphones. We expect them to make our time more enjoyable and to cut us off from our surroundings. This is exactly where the QCY T13 ANC excel. Sure, the audio quality isn't mind-blowing, but it's definitely okay. On the default preset, the sound is balanced, with a slight emphasis on the lower range. However, the bass doesn't overpower the rest. The mid-range is a bit recessed, but the most noticeable issue might be the cutoff in the treble. You can hear slight shortcomings when the vocals peak. Overall, though, it's not bad, especially considering the price range. Both the cheaper and the more expensive version of the T13 have ANC, which stands for Environmental Noise Cancellation, a technology that eliminates background noise. This only applies to isolating our voice from the background and helps during phone calls made in difficult conditions. However, the real feature of the more expensive model we're testing here is ANC. To activate it, just hold down the right earbud. Active noise cancellation, which is the technology of active noise reduction, serves a completely different purpose than the aforementioned ANC. In short, additional microphones listen to sounds coming from the environment, and a special electronic system analyzes them and reverses their phases, sending an opposite phase sound into the headphones. In other words, headphones with ANC counteract the sound from the environment, so they cancel each other out. The manufacturer states that the level of unwanted ambient noise reduction here is 28 dB, but the type of noise also matters. ANC works best with steady sounds, such as the noise of air conditioning, a train, or an airplane. However, ANC performs worse, for example, at a noisy marketplace where there are plenty of various unpredictable sounds. Using ANC can affect the listening quality itself, although I have to admit that I wasn't able to notice even the slightest decrease in audio quality when ANC was on compared to when it was off. As for how it works, yes, you can hear it and it does make a difference. However, this technology is still far from perfect. Ambient sounds are not and will not be eliminated 100%. Instead, they are muted. When switching between different modes, you can clearly hear the difference. However, I usually deactivated this mode while running. When I was in an open space in the park during stronger gusts of wind, ANC got a bit confused, and instead of muting, it reproduced the sound of the wind, but don't worry. Just turn off ambient noise reduction and everything will be fine. We can also set ANC to transparency mode, which means that instead of eliminating the background in real time, it will let it through. There are situations when you need to hear what's happening around you. For example, when I'm working from home with my partner. To avoid disturbing her and to listen to my own music, I put on headphones, but at the same time I don't want to be completely deaf to everything outside. As we know, in-ear headphones, even without ANC function, tend to strongly muffle what's happening around us. By activating the ambient mode, people no longer have to repeat the same thing to me 5 times, louder and louder. In other words, it's very useful when working around other people and communicating with them, but at the same time we want to listen to our own music, work with sound, or study. Are these headphones good for active users? IPX5 handles sweat and possible rain perfectly, but what I liked most about them was their design with the stem. The reason is quite simple. When you're running, you just need to grab the stem and you can easily change the track, turn the volume up or down. I'm mentioning this only because for the last few years, running with round earbuds was really annoying. Standing still, there was no difference, but running felt very different. The protruding stem is definitely a plus. The downside of this design, however, is that when you're taking off a completely sweaty shirt later, it's easy to snag them. But let's talk about the software now. I like that the manufacturer has a single app that literally supports all of its accessories and devices, and even though it's optional, it really allows you to do a lot. Here, we can adjust the intensity of noise cancellation, the balance, and check the current battery status of each earbud. On the other hand, the built-in equalizer will help you manually adjust the sound profile. Alternatively, you can use several available presets. The app also has a feature for finding lost earbuds. At least as long as we're within Bluetooth range, you can activate a beeping alert on each earbud at maximum volume. If you like falling asleep with music in your ears, after activating the appropriate mode, you'll block the ability to control them by touch. The feature only works until the T13 return to their case. From the app, we can also perform a firmware update, so it turns out you don't have to spend a lot of money on decent in-ear headphones. For about 100 PLN, we get what we would expect from this type of product, and even more. They look impressive and sound perfectly fine. Even the battery life is sufficient. The dedicated app also does the job. I think it's definitely okay. It's worth paying an extra 10 or 20 PLN for the newer version with ANC and newer Bluetooth. The price to quality ratio is very favorable. You can check the current price in the description. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to visit my website www.techmaniachd.pl. Thanks to the intuitive menu, you'll definitely find more inspiring content there. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye.